Surf Monkey Coconut. So this is the do-it-yourself home cooler tobacco fermenter. And it looks like I've been watching some of your guys' videos that you've been posting about your crops, and it looks like some of you desperately need this part, so I'm going to push it a little bit ahead of schedule. Now, first of all, I want to start off with that this is not a UL rated tobacco fermenter or UL rated anything at all. If you're talking about the law and stuff, federal regulations, every light fixture has to be UL rated. This is a UL rated item. It even says that to avoid risk of fire, use only 150 watts or less in this reflector dish. But as soon as you put it into another enclosure like this, you in effect void that UL rating. You can even see there's some air holes here so that it doesn't overheat. All of this is do at your own risk. I actually don't recommend that anybody follow this little tutorial here. Use your own judgment. There's a whole bunch of other fermenters out there. People recommend using herbivores, for reptile cages. Maybe a egg incubator if you have those type of things. If you have the resources, you might want to look into making some of those cooler type incubators or fermenters that are made out of whole refrigerators. That way you can pile your leaves on the inside of that and have like some kind of oil heater in it and some kind of humidifier in it. If you have all of that, go ahead and use that instead. The key is to use what you have at hand and use what you're able to afford. In this case, I think this is the most cheapest way to get the fermentation process started. And the fermentation process is the hardest part about growing your own tobacco. It is a step that should not be skipped because, again, there's a lot of chemicals in here from the natural plant. One of the biggest one being ammonia that you want to sweat out of the leaves prior to smoking it. Just because there's a lot of nasty stuff that the fermentation process will take out of the leaf. So do this at your own risk. If you're going to do this, use a ground fault interrupter, a GFI plug. So if anything overloads or catches fire, it will automatically trip itself. If you don't have a GFI plug, I think they sell power strips that have those built in. Another thing is you might want to do this outside. This lamp comes with a really long cord. As you can see, it's a very long cord, so you can have it, a good 25 feet away from any house or structure. It might be a little bit more difficult to maintain your temperatures outside when it's like the dead of winter, but this is what we got. You can use a different system as you want, but I'm just kind of showing a really quick and dirty, cheap fermenter to use. Okay, now that we got the disclaimer out, what we got for this cheap fermenter is just 4 items, really. All you need is this cooler that I got from Fred Meyer. It was $2.99. What I like about it is that it has a very thin lid that goes along with our lamp fixture here that I got from Home Depot. I believe this was about $5 to $7 from Home Depot a couple years ago. It came with a clamp on this side. Is this a cheap little tweezer clamp? And this actually fits really well inside of the cooler. When you're looking for parts, you might want to start with the lamp first and then make sure that your reflector dish will indeed fit into the cooler like so. Beyond that, this lamp actually has a nice little channel here that will fit when we punch this through the lid. It'll actually work like a little clamp on that end too, so it'll hold itself into this lid, which is a concave lid, and it matches the geometry of our reflector dish as well, so it kind of fits and falls right into place that way. The other 2 items that we have is a light bulb. Here I have a 40 watt light bulb and a thermometer that we're going to put into our fermentation chamber. And for a lot of you who've already seen the Instructable, the first version of this cooler fermenter was a lot more complicated than the one I'm going to do now. I actually drilled some holes on the bottom for some airflow and drilled some holes on the lid so that air can flow from the bottom and up to let the heat out. But what I noticed with that is that it lets too much heat out. It never achieved a 120 degree temperature, which may have been a good thing. But it also dried out the leaves really fast too. And the first version that I did was I just kind of piled these leaves inside of the cooler and put a wet paper napkin on them and then another plastic, but these leaves dried out within, say, 20 minutes. So what I determined to be the easiest method of creating this fermenter is that you do absolutely nothing to the bottom. Leave it as is. It'll hold the heat in well. It won't let air escape. This is actually not a very airtight cap, so as you can see, it kind of moves around. So air will be escaping in and out kind of in the cooler. But we just kind of want to capture as much of that heat as possible, because I noticed that nothing, it didn't burn very hot last time anyway, and when I had those holes, it just didn't work at all. So all we're going to do to make this tobacco humidor or fermenter now is all we're going to do is we're just going to take this part of the light ballast. I took off the reflector dish. I'm going to take this light bulb socket and I'm simply going to press it through the middle. You don't have to make it too complicated. You might think that you want to use a hand drill and a really large bit, but it's not that hard. I'm just going to estimate the middle of this lid here, and that looks good. And I'm just going to simply push it through. Because hey, we're only talking about a thin piece of styrofoam, and there you go. See, it came right off the top. So I'm going to pull that out, take all the foam out. I'm going to push it through the top, all the way down to that collar there. And I'm just going to simply screw this reflector dish back on. And there you go. Now, was that easy or was that easy? And it's actually holding in very firmly. The light switch is on the outside now, on off. And we're going to just screw in our light bulb back onto the top. Try not to get any fingerprints on there. Okay. There we go, and let's test it. I'm going to plug in this cord. And we got liftoff. So this essentially is our warming element for our tobacco fermenter. Here we got our deep cooler. I'm going to throw in the thermometer in there. And there you go. Instant tobacco fermenter, and it makes a nice night light as well. Alright, so let's go on to part 2. I'm going to start showing you how to wrap up these tobacco leaves and put it into our fermenter and hope for the best.